What is up, y'all? I hope you're doing well. We're here for our midweek alchemy message where we are unpacking how we're approaching this week's spiritual work and the assignments that we're dealing with. It's been a heavy week, an interesting week. We are in this period of time that follows Passover called the Omer. And so what that is a 40-day period that corresponds with the Israelites' 40 years in the desert and in the wilderness. And so basically this period of time is an opening in a cosmic window of energy that we're exposed to, just like the high holy holidays are. And when we were exposed to the energy of Passover, it's like we downloaded all of this light from the Creator, but now that light has to be embodied through a process. We have to earn that light, or else that light will create kind of chaos in our life that we have to go through to ground it in, so to speak. So this light we are earning over this 40-day period. And so this 40 days will be challenging in different ways that will trigger certain parts of our ego, certain parts of the wounds that we still have that aren't fully healed. You know, we're always a work in progress. So even though we do, great work, and we make great strides in our inner work, we're never perfectly there. And the day that we get perfectly there and complete our tikkun, then that is the day that we sign off from this planet. So we're not going to be perfect, but it's always kind of layer by layer by layer. So this 40 days will challenge us. And when we see those triggers come up, when we see ourselves frustrated, when we see ourselves afraid, when we see ourselves anxious and angry and envious of others, that's when we see the highlighted portion of our homework, of our workbook. And it's like, this is what you can focus on, to work on and try to work through. So it's our negativity that really opens us up and exposes us to challenge and chaos. And when we transmute that negativity with true sincerity and seriousness, then that transformation opens up miracles, and it helps us channel miracles through into our life. So it's like, instead of making a burnt sacrifice or an animal sacrifice or something like that, we sacrifice our ego, we sacrifice our negativity, which is actually more powerful than, when in the olden days, and then some people do it still, when they try to sacrifice an animal or something like that. It's not the same power as when we put our own, lay our own flesh down and put our ego down to be sacrificed. So when we do that, though, it puts us in the realm of miracles. Just like the Israelites, when they wandered the wilderness and they were in unity and they had faith and certainty in the Creator, they saw all these miracles that we've never seen again since that time. And when they became divided, when they became unhappy, when they became ungrateful, and they got sour and ennui, and they were frustrated in the wilderness and angry, that's when they were exposed to affliction and chaos and hard times and hardships. So we are still those Israelites, just incarnated again and again and again, and we are just struggling with the same issues, but in modern times. We think about in the biblical times when the Jewish people, when the Israelites were under the Roman Empire's oppression, and they were being forced into, even when they were free from slavery, they were living in poverty because they were financially enslaved. They were suffering under triple taxation. And so They worked hard, they did well, even though they made a good living. It was like they still had barely scraped by, and they still struggled, even if they were a successful business person, and they had two incomes coming in the family. Like the women in the Old Testament and the New Testament, they worked. They had jobs as well as being, homemakers in the family. It wasn't just the men that worked in the Old Testament. So that is just something to remember, that women have always been in the workforce. It was something in the, wealthy class system that took women out of the workforce and made them like these stay-at-home porcelain dolls. But since the early times, women have been working alongside the men. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys the cards, then I'll cut to the audio. You can hear that and see the spread, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss further. And I want to read you guys the tarot cards out of the Tarot for the Apprentice, because there are prayers that actually are associated with the major arcana cards and meditations that you may not know about. So I'm going to read those to you. Okay, so we have the Golden Rose again this week. We had this recently. We have Ash again this week, which we had last week, if I remember correctly. Followed by Mystical Sister. Underneath the Golden Rose, we've got Justice. Underneath Ash, we have Five of Pentacles. And underneath Mystical Sister, we have the Strength card. So I'm going to let you guys listen to the audio, and then I'll be right back. Our work this week has been to devote our heart, soul, mind, and strength to mercy, kindness, compassion, and sharing. It has been to draw upon a wellspring of strength that does not come from us, but beyond us, that is not accessed from outside ourselves, but from turning inward. Jesus' Sermon on the Mount comes to mind. He said, "Do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat, how you will live, what you will wear, for God knows you have need of all of these things." He points out that the birds do not worry or toil, and yet God always provides for them. And how much more valuable are we than birds? But seek first the Father's kingdom of wisdom, love, kindness, understanding, and faith in what you cannot see, peace and goodness, and then all these other things will be added unto you. Someone else cannot do this for you. You have to devote yourself to this relationship. You have to seek this out yourself. You must build this brick by brick, prayer by prayer. The foolish man looks to earthly things to keep him safe and give him power, security, and peace of mind. But it is never enough, and the peace, satisfaction, and fulfillment of these things is as fleeting as sand. And so when the storm comes, the foolish man's house is washed away, for he did not build his peace on a solid foundation. The foolish man does not know where to go, what to do, or how to be guided during the storm, because he never built the skills to listen beneath the roar of the winds and thunder. He is distracted by the lightning and pushed by the wind. But the wise build their house upon the rock. And when the storm comes, their house is unshaken, because their peace is in what they cannot see, feel, taste, touch, or buy. There is a collective grief and existential terror raining down upon mankind, and we must seek refuge in the haven of the inner temple. For those of us who have glimpsed this, we must be channels of compassion, kindness, goodness, and generosity for others. We must protect this gentle strength to be a hand that can extend to another, a wall of fortitude that does not shut out, but that gives the weary a safe place to lean on, We must protect our strength and shelter ourselves in our devotion to our faith and following our conscience with the utmost integrity. It is our ego, our negativity, our selfishness that exposes us to the hardship and chaos. All right, we back. Before we get into the cards deeper, I just want to remind you guys about the 2025 prediction series. I made this in the fall, so the videos are actually a lot lighter energy than I've been recently, because recently I've been, struggling with all of this. And in the fall, we didn't know exactly what was happening yet. So even though I filmed these in the fall, the information is still right on, and it's very accurate to guide you through the emotional turmoil that we are dealing with now. But fortunately, I'm in brighter spirits, so it's actually pretty enjoyable to watch. I've found it very encouraging just to even listen to my own videos through the 2025 prediction series. But you can find it in my description box below. You just go to my stand store. You'll see it. I'm standing in front of a pyramid in a nebula, and it's only $10, and you've got a yearly overview. You have quarterly readings and monthly readings, and all of those readings have journal questions in the description box under the video that will help you workshop the issues and subjects coming up. And it would be a great way to support me for my birthday. My birthday is Saturday, and you can buy the 2025 prediction series for yourself, and that inadvertently buys me a drink for my birthday. So please support the channel. Okay, so we have the golden rose. This is the summation of the alchemical work. The outer petals of the rose represent the outer planets and their influence that they have on us as we work with those energies. The inner petals kind of swirl in an opposite direction, and they get so tight that eventually you can't see the inner petals, and they represent the innermost concealed. There are aspects of God that we can ponder and aspects of reality that we can ponder, and we can stretch our mind to try so hard to go to those abstract places. But at some point, there is a veil drawn where it is inconceivable, imperceptible to us. And that aspect of God is called the innermost concealed. And it is hidden for a reason, because there are some mysteries so powerful that they're not safe for people to know about. And when we talked recently about the 3 of the times in early humankind that God had to disrupt humankind because they were getting too negative, one of the times was the Tower of Babel. And there are a lot of theories around the Tower of Babel. I personally think that it did have to do with them figuring out how to bend and alter reality and alter time. And they had done this in such a way and from a consciousness that was not in a godly fashion. It was not for the sake of sharing or for the sake of doing good, but it was for the self alone. It was to drive their own will. And so I think they were messing with reality, and they were becoming thinking that they were gods themselves. So they were bypassing the inner work that we do that reveals miracles through us, that prepares us as a vessel to channel miracles through. And they were just taking and taking and taking. And you know what happens when you take miracles and magic from the universe? It's like spending spiritual money on a credit card that has major interest attached to it. So that's why I don't like when people ask me about spell work. I don't like spell work, because you're taking something that is either in the wrong time for you or taking it by force. and you are doing it without earning that. And so the universe then charges you interest, and you have to go through some sort of loss or chaos associated with that. So it's better to do the inner work, to work on your soul, and to try to align yourself with the divine will for your life, which will reveal the ultimate fulfillment, and it will bring you into an ultimate state of happiness, peace, and harmony, where you will align with the things that are truly meant for you and truly right for you. And even when we get things without spells, but just like force it by our willpower and we make it happen, things that aren't meant for us are never quite right. And there's always some chaos or pain or toil attached to it. But when things are meant for us, it's not that it doesn't come without challenge, but there's a certain fulfillment that it doesn't wear us out. It doesn't burn us out. It doesn't drain us. It doesn't cost us everything or create chaos or pain and suffering. There's an amount of pain in life that we can't avoid, but then there is other pain that is associated with like trying to force something that's just not right for us, or taking something that's not ours. It's like if you get money that wasn't meant for you, or you take a job that wasn't really meant for you, it's like it doesn't really work out. It falls through, or it's miserable and you hate it. If you get involved with a romantic partner that's not meant for you, it's horrible. It's like, it's the worst. It's toxic, especially if you disrupt another relationship to get that, right? That never works out very well. That's why I'm very leery of, all the twin flame gurus, because it seems like there's always a third party situation involved, and it's like always these people like waiting around for like somebody to leave someone else. And it's like, okay, if it's possible that maybe your soulmate is with someone else at this moment, but it's not up to you to dictate when and who that is, because they will become available to you when you're both ready to be together, when you have the greatest chance of success. And that will happen on its own without you getting your hands dirty in the process. So yes, certain mysteries of life, certain mysteries about the Creator, certain mysteries about the depths of it all, creation, are always going to be hidden. They're always going to be concealed. But we still pursue this relationship with the Creator, right? It's like, and there's certain glimpses that we catch of it. The Bible, or the Torah, in a certain part talks about, it compares our desire to understand the mysteries of the Torah with a lover that walks around the perimeter of their true love's house every day, waiting for that lover to come and look out the window, to pull the curtain back and just reveal their face, even for a moment, to have that glimpse and to wait for it excitedly and to show up in that devotion. It's the same. It's like waiting. It's like having a desire for a lover who every now and then will pull the veil back or pull the curtain back and look out the window and reveal themselves and fill you with that excitement, only for them to have to withdraw behind the curtain again. And then you're like, well, maybe they'll be back tomorrow. So that's the way that the mysteries are of the Torah. It's like they reveal themselves in these moments little by little over time. It's not every time, but it takes showing up again and again and again for that. Because God is wise, and God will not reveal understanding to an undeserving vessel, or to a vessel that won't be able to handle that wisdom, or that will misuse that wisdom. So people, they do gain wisdom and they do negative things with it, and that is going to come back on them. But the true seeker, the true devoted disciple, is their heart is known by the Creator, and that makes them more trustworthy to have those kinds of abilities, to be able to have insight and intuition and prophecy and healing. And yeah, I mean, and people just throw around the word prophecy anymore these days. People are always saying, oh, I have a word for you or this or that. And I've always been very reluctant to use that kind of language because I take it really, really, really seriously. And there's so many people that are just flooding the internet who are essentially just wanting to be intuitive coaches, but they want to have Christian language. So they're just slapping that word on everywhere. And it's being thrown around too loosely, I think, these days. So, you always have to be mindful, even with Christian content creators, because you don't know where they're really coming from. Maybe they are sincere. Maybe they do have a gift, but maybe they just want to have a sensational title on their video and get a lot of views, so we always have to have discernment. And that's another thing that's been on the forefront of our lessons recently, is it's all about discernment. And so with that study, we have justice here. And so one of the parts of the story of Passover was that the death angel was going to come over Egypt and take the firstborn of every house. But the houses of the Israelites, they did the ritual and they went through the prayers and they ate matzah and they abstained from leavened bread and they sacrificed a lamb and they painted that lamb's blood over their doorway. And that signal, when the death angel saw that signal, that death angel knew to pass over that house. Well, symbolically, that represents the true devoted heart that really seeks to be one with God by changing themselves because they love God so much. And this is a person that subjugates their own ego and suppresses the ego, and they want to heal their heart so that they bring more light and goodness into the world. And so because of that devotion, not only is wisdom and understanding and maybe even gifts of healing and miracles are given to them, but they are it affects the way that they are judged and treated in the upper realms as well, which in turn affects the experience you're having in the world. There can be a lot of people going through a lot of hard things around you, but if you're truly devoted and you're showing up doing the work, yes, there are some things that we're meant to go through, and it doesn't mean that we're being punished or going through judgment. Maybe it's something that is preparing us for another thing, or maybe it's something that we are going through to correct for negativity that we have, done in the past or even in a past life, right? But the scales even out. And so that devotion, though, that love, that connection you have with the Creator, it puts you in a realm of protection and miracles, and the upper realms will judge you with favor and with mercy and compassion. Even if you are in the midst of a situation where other people are feeling it, feeling the pain and the fear of it all, like you will be in this grace and in this bubble. And hopefully you can use that grace and that protection. Hopefully it will spill out and you will be a guide or a safe house or a positive influence for others, or a source of sharing. And you can be that strong person that also shares with other people, okay, this is how you do this. This is how you navigate this. I can share this with you. I can try to give you this information. I can try to be a stable mind when you're, in peril and you're in crisis. It's like at work, right? We're all sort of gambling as servers and people in the service industry. And I keep telling my coworkers, look, I have discovered that Psalm 72, every time I pray it, I'm blessed at work. Like, even if we don't have the greatest business, my tip percentages are still good. I'm still making my average. I'm listening, it's tax time, right? So everybody's talking about how horribly they did last year. And it did feel like I made a lot less money last year, but really when I look at my taxes, I only made like $5,000 less last year than this year. It just feels like way less because everything got so much more expensive. But same in the, my nightly experiences with people, like I will have almost like a safety raft around me to where I at least get a few tables that are decent, that make up for the bad ones. But there are others around me that are having a really hard time. They're consistently making like 10% tips and things and having a tough time. So I don't gatekeep this information. I try to tell them, like, guys, do this. And they don't listen. Not all of them do. And then when they get all flustered, they're like, what do I do? Tell us, give us a trick. What do I do? How do I do this? And I'm like, I keep telling you, and they're like, keep praying, Liz. And I'm like, I can't pray for you. I mean, I can pray for you, but I can't be your relationship to the Creator. You have to do that for yourself. I can pray and get business towards the restaurant like that God sends. It's not me doing it, but my prayers can pull God's favor in our direction to some degree. But I can't control what happens once people sit in your table. Once they get into your section, that is your relationship with the Creator. I can't do anything for you at that point, but hope for the best and hope that you have the best, So the next card is Ash. This is about like things from the past burning up and blowing away. And we're kind of in a mourning period of easier, sweeter times, more nostalgic times. We're longing for those simpler days, those happier, warmer days where things were easier and not so sinister. And so we're really grieving this, and we might be grieving a lot of things. Like if you are in the middle of like a spiritual awakening and your soul is shifting into a new chapter and a new timeline, like you might be having a lot of changes in your life that you might be mourning. Maybe people have come and gone. Maybe your job is changing. You might be going through like a move or whatever. There's so many things that could be being mourned, and we're mourning collectively right now, and we're all facing this kind of existential fear and terror and crisis right now as a collective. So we're all feeling it. But the thing is, the more we slip into that scarcity mindset and that consciousness of fear and feeling like we're out in the cold and we're exposed and we're, in danger, the more that we focus on that, the more it exposes us to that chaos. And so that's why it's so important to have a daily practice throughout the day where you keep going back, you keep connecting in prayer. You have, like, I try to have some kind of Bible study every morning. And on the Kabbalah website, Kabbalah.com, if you start an account with your email, I think that you can access the daily Zohar for free without being a One House member. If you decide to get a membership, it's like $49.99 a month. And there's like endless courses, endless video content, like endless content that you will never be able to consume all of it. But one thing that I do every morning, and it's like they're usually between 5 and 8 minutes long, these videos. The daily Zohar is the daily Torah portion, but the Zohar is the commentary that goes deepest into the spiritual technology and the deep symbolic meaning of what these Torah portions are really talking about, not just the basic surface level understanding of an event that played out and a moral lesson attached to it. There's so much depth, and it really, through the daily Zohar lessons, understanding that context of the Torah like encoding helps understand so much of Jesus's more esoteric and symbolic messages as well. So they're all interconnected. Everything in the Old Testament is connected to everything in the Bible. Everything comes back to the Garden of Eden, and everything that we celebrate, all the holidays are to commemorate the Exodus. It's all connected. And then everything in the Bible is basically a foreshadowing and a prophetic foretelling of the coming of Christ. So it's all connected. So yes, the more that we can transform our darkness into light, the more that we can really process this grief. We can't bypass it. It's just going to fester. But we also have to do this in such a way that we aren't getting completely sucked into catastrophizing and doomsdaying and getting depressed and feeling despair, because the despair opens us up to more chaos, and processing the grief actually eventually lightens up the heart and it takes the heaviness away. I know it just seems like ongoing, heaviness right now, but we take it one day at a time and we try to enjoy what we can when we can. And then Sister Mystica, this is a card that talks about like a connection with someone that's like a soul friend who's got your back. They're praying for you. They believe in you. They're a source of strength, like a spiritual connection, like a soulmate friend who is like a light for you in dark times, and a prop of strength for you to lean on, your support system. One of the other themes that have been coming up recently has been to really find those kindred spirits, and that building that community of people who truly care about you for you, who you can really trust, who you can really bet on, who are going to really be there for you in hard times. Now is not the time for fair weather friends. Now is the time for people who are ride or die, and they have your back and they care about who you are, not just what you have to offer them, but they're also worried about what they can give you as well, how they can be there for you, how they can check in on you as well as you checking in on them. So this card does talk about how there might even be someone that you don't even realize that's thinking about you from a distance and praying for you and interceding for you and praying for good things to happen to you, even if you're not in contact with them. And the Strength card comes up with this. So this is like, our community, like back, when people were living in more tribal communities, when people were living in like these closer knit little villages, and they knew their neighbors and they supported one another and they were there to show up when each other needed them, that made it so much more doable. Right? But we've become so isolated in our modern age. We look at the internet, we think that it makes us all like closer together, and there's the potential for it to do that, but it's also really isolated people as well. And people have a handful of people they can rely on and count on. And I know for myself, like I've tried to be friendly with my neighbors on my street. Like on Halloween, I tried like trick-or-treating to a couple of their houses to say hi, and it's like they're very standoffish, and they don't even know that I pray for the street all the time and that I watch out for their houses, and I'm concerned for their well-being. And I romanticize like the Victorian period, but I love the show Anne with an E. But I love Prince Edward Island and the idea of living there, because it's like this little farm town where everyone knows everyone. And, on one episode, like somebody's house was burning down and they rang the bell and like everybody in the town showed up to try to put the house out. And then like as they were rebuilding the house, like all the men gathered to rebuild the house, and the family all had places to stay and they were taken care of, and everybody had their backs. It's like we need to return back to those times where we have a village, we have a tribe, we have neighbors, we have people in our community that care for us, because we're so vulnerable and it's so precarious anymore. Okay, let's read the prayers from the Major Arcana. So I love the book Tarot for the Apprentice by Eileen Conley. This is sort of like the tarot, the original intent of the tarot to like reveal Christ consciousness and the path of ascension to Christ consciousness. It wasn't just it was created as a game, but it was like the tarot were created as a game to sneak hidden, forbidden like knowledge back into people's hands that knew how to interpret what it meant. And it does have divination qualities to it, but ultimately it was like the preservation of sacred wisdom. So this is a prayer that is associated with the Justice card. The labors of yesterday will be justified in this new day. I am weak, dear Father, and afraid of the consequences of my own actions. It is terrible to know fear and allow it to blind me to thy mercy. I need thee by my side to face any justice bestowed upon me. When others judge me, open my eyes and let me understand the reasons why. Help me not to be quick to judge the acts of others. May I represent kindness and mercy when others condemn. When this night falls, may the love and understanding I show today give another soul comfort and happiness. As I start this new day, may this prayer rest in my heart and find its way to thee. Yeah, real devil-like cards over here. When people say it, I'm just like, you don't know the half of it. Okay, and then there is like little meditations, like another shorter thought associated. So this is still the Justice card. Justice is the voice of man's conscience. He must learn to obey it in order to maintain his inner balance. The higher consciousness of man directs his actions, and if it is ignored, man loses his spiritual equilibrium. This causes chaos in his life and harm to himself and his loved ones. Also, Five of Pentacles, there was a specific line that said, don't give up. You may be closer to achieving your goal than you think. Okay, now I'm going to read the Strength card. And then in my Instagram post today, I did a carousel of the other pages associated with these cards. You can go and save it as a reference if you want, but there's more text that I'm not reading that is really, really good. Okay, Strength. Fill my day, dear Lord, with the strength to resist all that may offend thee. Too often do I resort to my inner weaknesses. Teach me the beauty of inner strength, to know the difference between selfishness and charitable actions. If it be thy holy will, let me use my strength to help others. Allow me to be a fortress for those who seek comfort and solace. If today I am tempted to use my strength solely for my own purpose and pleasure, remind me to show me where my strength can best be used. Help me to use gentleness when I feel the need to force my opinions on others. Grant me the patience to wait instead of pushing. I pray for true strength of character and long for the stillness of my material wants. Grant me the grace of knowing that true strength is faith in thee. Amen. Okay. Here's the little meditation or food for thought. True strength is spiritual, not physical. And man must learn to use this strength of spirit to sustain himself in times of trouble, to lift himself above worldly turmoil. Man must realize that he's never alone with his doubts and fears, and that heavenly comfort can be his if he will only reach up for it. Now, two things that this reading reminded me of a lot today was the Sermon on the Mount and Psalm 72. And if you want to hear Psalm 72 read in the Hebrew, from the Hebrew, which I highly recommend, then go to my channel page and look for the playlist Secrets of the Psalms. And I read Psalm 72 for you guys. I'm wearing like my dark navy blue pinstripe shirt in that video, but there's also a title called Psalm for Protection from Poverty. Okay, and so then I'll read you the justice card here. And then you can go to my Instagram also and see today's reading. And it's got a carousel of pictures of all of this text if you want to have it and save it and be able to say these prayers or refer back to them. So, justice. Someone has investigated the situation concerned and has arrived at a decision that is fair and honest. Justice given, lesson learned, we receive what we have earned. Stick to your guns, don't be influenced by persuasive talk. You should have learned by past experience to do what you feel is best. All things being considered, the right decision has been made. So think about that. You should have learned by stick to your guns, don't be influenced by persuasive talk. There are so many loud, aggressive voices right now, and it is proven in psychological study that people tend to just fall in line with the loudest, most aggressive, most repetitive voice or influence in their atmosphere. And it's not necessarily because it's the right one or the most intelligent or the one that aligns with their integrity. It's the one that keeps aggressively, loudly preaching that message over and over and over again at them. And think about how we're exposed to so much of this loud, pushy. I mean, think about advertisements, politics, the news, everything is in your face, right? So it's so important that we are able to maintain our own inner equilibrium and our own discernment. Okay. To become involved with the higher self is to know your purpose here on earth. You were not meant to be a prisoner in your earthly body. Once you understand that you are a soul with a body and have access to the higher realms of consciousness, you can overcome the restrictions of earthly thoughts. You must learn to judge yourself and analyze your actions. Often we are inundated with higher thoughts to resort to the negative barriers we create in our conscious mind. Careless application of our thoughts shows in our actions, which disappoints those we love and offends our higher consciousness. Total balance is needed. To achieve this, we must learn to understand the power we have over our own existence. How can we have high, noble thoughts and then commit deeds that make us ashamed? Once we learn to blend the higher self with our daily thinking pattern, we will learn how to avoid the pitfalls experienced when we operate only on a materialistic level. As we learn to blend the two levels, we will blossom and mature spiritually. We will grow stronger, blossom, mature spiritually. And then look at this. This is the opposite of that, right? When we go against our higher conscious and our actions create shame and regret, our blossom is like left out in the exposed to the harsh weather, the harsh conditions that we create for ourselves. As we learn to blend the two levels, we will blossom and mature spiritually. We will grow stronger and develop an inner strength that will help us to steer our lives in the right direction. Perfect balance within gives great strength to character, and in this strength is a beautiful peace that passeth all understanding. Reaching total balance takes time to eliminate all negative thought vibrations. Choose a time when you can concentrate and relax completely. This is a beautiful outdoor meditation. Nature can help you regain your equilibrium if you choose a quiet spot in the forest, by a stream, or up in the mountains. Tomorrow is my first day off that I've actually don't have a million obligations in weeks, and I am so excited to just go on a long walk, decompress, go on a long jog. I want to do a million things tomorrow. Do a little gardening. Okay, we're going to read strength. The inner qualities representing love, patience, and gentleness are superior to material power, force, or hate. Use the love you feel within, feed them honey, and you will win. A reconciliation is possible if you can conquer your emotions. Take another look at the obstacles and see if they are real. Success demands organization. Then you will realize satisfaction and joy. Self-discovery is the spiritual adventure of this meditation. We must truly have the desire to overcome material and spiritual barriers. So often in life, these barriers loom before us, subjecting the soul to all the pain and misery that go with indecision. The questions that arise when we attempt to discipline our daily lives absorb so much energy. When we try to reason things out on our own, we experience anguish from a lack of faith, which disconnects our spiritual lifeline. Through the high order of this symbol, we can attain the knowledge we need to balance our lives. We may be tempted to resort to emotional reasoning instead of offering the need before the throne of God. Many despondent souls say that the problems they face are too heavy and complicated to take to the Almighty. Yet they are willing to struggle and carry the burdens on their own shoulders. Let this meditation be a soothing balm for all of your worries and problems. Think how much easier life will be if you release your load to God. Then you will have the spiritual vision to greet each day new with total trust. Faith makes us strong. We become vulnerable when we allow others to take advantage of us, and in the struggle to protect ourselves, we can easily become aggressive and evasive, casting a shadow on our relationship with the Almighty. Lighten your burden today and let your face feel the warmth of God's radiant light. The time for this meditation is whenever you are in need. And then let's read Five of Pentacles real quick since we're in here. And then that'll be all. Okay. So Five of Pentacles. Take the time to review what is happening in your life and what you want. Head too low, you cannot see just how good life can be. You may feel like throwing in the towel, but you could be on the verge of accomplishment. A legal situation involving settlements could mean loss. Possibility of neglected health, more care needed. So the legal situation, I feel like it could be weighing on the energy that you're putting out right now, the work that you're doing on your own inner change and the inner healing. So just remember that when we do negative actions, our negative actions create negative angels that work to judge against us, and they create chaos for us. But our positive actions and the things that we do to correct for that negativity, they create positive actions that go before us and work on our behalf. So think about that. Just think about every thought you have and everything that you do and every word that you speak. What if that was tipping the scales? What if the scales were totally balanced and hanging by like a thread, and every action you did really tipped them one way or the other? And that kind of is a good visualization to help you keep your butt in line. It certainly doesn't help me all the time, I can promise you that. I still get salty and still have to pop off and my mouth runs, and I wish I hadn't said the things that I did sometimes. But it's not that I pop off at people, it's just that like sometimes I vent, but I do it in an environment that is not like a safe environment. Like if you need to vent, because we all need to purge the vessel sometimes, but you have to do it. Like if you're like venting about people at work, then you need to do it in an environment that won't cause blowback or like won't cause other people to like start noticing the negativity of that person at work or that issue at work. Like, you have to do it in a place with people that don't work with you and don't, like, it won't get anybody in trouble kind of thing. Do you understand? Same with like friends or like a relationship. You shouldn't be venting or like talking about that relationship. First of all, you need to be very careful and mindful about how you're doing it, and be conscious about who you're choosing to discuss this with. It needs to be a person that you spiritually trust and respect their insight and wisdom. It doesn't count when you go to every single person and you just want to talk about this to everyone. That snowballs into chaos. That's evil tongue. But every now and then we do need to confide in someone to get advice, to get their mentorship, or to purge the vessel. And we have to do it in ways that won't create trouble for this person or situation in the relevant groups that they're in. All right, y'all, that's all for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow for our weekly romance reading. Let's see what's up in our love world. Hopefully good things. Ciao. I forgot the Uranus card fell and I didn't see it, but Uranus is like sudden change, radical shifts in the way that you perceive things, revelatory moments. Sometimes this is that lightning strike that gives you a lot of inspiration around an idea. Sometimes it's the kind of chaos that makes radical change in a situation or brings like a revolution into a situation. So I think that through our inner work, through processing this grief, there's something major changing in our life, and it's coming on a personal level, but also, I mean, we can see all the things that are happening right now on the planet that are definitely leading to major shifts and change and upheaval. But there's something about like this inner devotion and growth that pushes us over the edge and reveals a miracle in our life, right? So don't give up when you're so close to the miracle, and don't let the enemy, the opponent, the Satan come in and trip you up into this negativity that's going to spill out all your blessings, because something radical is going to be changing. All right, ciao.